is Owen McGabin, and welcome to HYVA, which stands for Hire Your Virtual Assistant.com. And one of the things I do on my show is I go out looking for other successful entrepreneurs who can, give us some more information about how they make use of virtual assistants and how they've been able to systemize their business and also outsource several tasks in their business, because I feel that by doing this, we get to see, how other people are, getting things done in their business, and we can take the lessons learned and use it in our business. And so today I had Joe Adkins from the Realty Factor on the call. So Joe, go ahead. I want you to introduce yourself to the audience first of all.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Glad to be with you. Thanks for inviting me on. Joe Adkins, I'm based in Orlando, Florida. Owner of two companies: the Realty Factor, which is a real estate company listing and selling real estate, and then the Global Asset Management Group, which is a independent wealth management firm, financial planning and so forth. So really spend half my time in real estate and half my time in the wealth management business.
Definitely. And when I saw that you actually come from a real estate background, I was excited because I was like,
okay,
I
wow,
also
great.
have a real estate background myself, and so let me, I would love to, get some more light as to how you use, virtual assistant and how you outsource that, specifically in your real estate business. So, let's dive back to, when exactly did you realize that you had need for, virtual assistant or even outsourcing some of your tasks in the first place?
Yeah, I'd say it was probably 2 to 3 years ago, and it kind of, Brian Tracy, who's one of these great sales trainers, and a lot of real estate agents follow him. He has this time management technique where, you set like an alarm on your phone or something, and every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes, you write down all the activities you did in like the prior 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and you do this for a week, all right? And then after the end of the week, you kind of say, well, what was I spending my time on? And I started realizing that I'm spending all my time doing $8 and $10 an hour activities. And so when I started looking at this, I started seeing how many things I could get my secretary to do or such. But of course, secretaries, you're spending 10, 12, 14 bucks an hour to get somebody good. But it was a couple years ago is when it really hit me.
Definitely. So there are two things that when you made that statement that came to mind was, first of all, it seems that you took the time to really analyze and journal every single thing you were doing, and I wanted to dive into that as well. And the second thing was really, how did you even evaluate the worth of your time? Because you made the mention of $10 activities an hour, so obviously you had to really dive in and know how much each hour how much your hour is worth, right? So I wanted to also dive into that as well. So with the first question.
Yeah, so for example, if somebody wanted to make, $300,000 a year, that's roughly $150 an hour, right? You take your annual salary and you divide it by 2 and knock off a couple zeros. So I don't know the exact formula, but if you want to make $500,000 a year, it's $250 an hour working, 50 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. And so if you want to earn $150 an hour, you can't very well spend your time doing $10 or $12 an hour activities, right? And so after you end up looking, hey, I spent 4 hours checking email. I spent 30 minutes getting coffee. At the end of the day, you're like, I felt like I got a lot accomplished, but really I wasn't moving my business forward. And in the real estate business, if you're not closing more real estate deals, hiring more agents who are closing more real estate deals, you're not making more money. And so it was tough to spend a week and really track those activities every 30 minutes and jot them down. I mean, it was painstaking, going through and doing it in Excel. And then I just went through and highlighted all the activities that I could pay somebody $10 an hour less, or less to do. And anything that I felt that I couldn't delegate, I really tried hard to find a system to delegate it. And at the end of the day, I found 90% of the things I was doing were not money-making activities and could have been delegated to somebody else. Started off with my secretary, ended up 2 years ago getting rid of the secretary and just outsourcing it.
I'm curious as to how because you said that some of them you could outsource it, and so was it that you were automating several things, and then you were also trying to delegate some things to some other people? How did you find the balance on deciding what to do in that respect?
Right. So for an example, let's just take the real estate business for an example. 90% of the emails that would come into me were emails that could have been answered by somebody else, very simple questions. So things like that could be outsourced. Things like, if I needed to read over a real estate contract and check the, make sure things are filled out properly. That could be taught to somebody else through videos, which we can talk about more, how we do Camtasia videos and train the assistants. And at first I thought, well, I'm the broker, only I can do these things. But really, they can be trained and outsourced. The things that I felt I couldn't outsource, at least immediately, which we ended up doing some of that long term, was things like, making phone calls, getting people in the door, money, things that actually led to dollars, in the company's pocket. So it's just a matter of documenting everything you're doing, and it's different for everybody. But there's always little things you find, and I found for me checking email was, I can't even tell you, how big of a time killer Owen that was for me. And coming up with a system of filters and having other people check certain parts of email and these kind of things to systematize it.
And what did you find for email? Because email is something that everybody's going to have that, experience as email drawing their time and killing time. Mm-hmm. What did you find with your email worked for you?
There's a piece of software called Manic Time, and Manic Time, it's a free software, and it tracks all the stuff you do on your computer. And I ended up finding that most of my time was, we have our own Zimbra email server, and most of my time was spent in the Zimbra email tab. And so at first you think that totally can't be outsourced. You have to, in business, you feel like you have to keep your email open, 24/7, or you're going to miss out on something, right? And so what I started doing was saying, okay, well, first I'm just going to check my email at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and maybe 8 p.m. Okay, pick different times. I didn't like the whole autoresponder thing. Got tired of people calling me for pointless things, and so my voicemail was, hey, email me. And so everyone got in the habit of emailing me. And then, I'm a big fan of filters, but even more than the whole filtering system was that putting together, and this goes back to the virtual assistant, but putting together Camtasia software, I'm sure you're familiar with it, is a screen capture software. So doing videos basically for everything, every little piece of our business. And that's kind of like outsourcing my time, is the video piece. So if somebody needed to know how to run ads on Craigslist to generate buyer leads in real estate, I would film a 2 or 3 hour video on how I designed the ads in Photoshop, how I converted them to JPEG, how I put them on a server, got the HTML, the entire process for doing it, filmed a video, and when that email would come in and ask about anything with lead generation, either myself or somebody else, my mother worked with me, my wife, my mother-in-law, a virtual assistant, they could reply back with just a link to the video. And so instead of me, wasting all this time, the videos taught everybody. So now kind of the joke in the company is, don't ask Joe questions, just first go to the video, the video's channel and see if there's something there first,
Definitely. And I think kind of, the thing that might be going through anybody's mind, anybody in the real estate industry, with based on what you were doing, is probably, okay, I'm complaining I don't have time, but now you're saying spend time to systemize everything you're doing. Make sure you outline what the steps it takes to do every single task that you're doing, both the income producing and the non-income producing as well. And in your case, you went the extra mile to actually document it by showing a video of how it's actually done. And how can you encourage that person who's thinking of the same thing that I'm trying to think of it in the sense of the time spent in terms of the return on investment. So you spend time to do that, and it seems it's you results where you can hand off that task to somebody, right?
Well, you end up getting your life back. It doesn't matter what business you're in. I mean, whether, you're my friends who are attorneys who have started to do some of this stuff, whether you're in the mortgage business, whether you're in an online business. In online businesses is where if you're selling video tutorials or a product online is where it's super critical. So, for example, like you were saying with the real estate agents, I just got, some of them are going to watch this, so I don't want to be too harsh, but I just got tired of people asking the same questions all the time, right? So, you tell them, you meet with them for 2 hours, and we have right now almost 60 agents. So you meet with one of them, you tell them exactly how to do something. And then 2 weeks later, we put Google Analytics on all of our agent sites, so I know if they're running ads or if they're doing their job or not, right? So they'd come back and say it's not working. And instead of me having to constantly repeat the process, I could just do one video very, very well and really outline it good. And then that video became the model, the system for people to follow. So instead of a business relying on me to be there, it just simply relies on my server to be up all the time, which of course with technology you can make sure happens. And so literally now I've duplicated myself, which everybody wants to do in business, and we've got over 100 hours of these video training modules that literally can walk people through anything they need to know about the real estate business, from sales contracts. I've got my mother, who's our manager in the office, does videos on line by line going through sales contracts. I mean, anything you could think of in business that you find yourself constantly doing the same thing over and over again and answering the same questions over and over again, I found I could just do a video of it and answer the questions one time.
Definitely. I like where we're going with this interview. So the question now is, I mean, how do you really determine which of these activities you need to spend time on trying to really systemize and outline in videos? Because there's so many different things and different choices that you have. But obviously there's certain ones that you have taken that time to now, okay, I need to sit down and create a video for those ones. How do you determine which ones to do those for?
So I'm on my other monitor here. I'm just going to log in and look at some of the videos I've done. That'll kind of refresh my memory. Because once I do a video and put it up there, the only thing I know is if an email comes in or an agent's talking to me, and I've done a video on it, I know where to direct them, right? So, okay, here's a good example. So I found myself spending, in our money management business with Global Asset Management Group, we do a lot of insurance sales. And so with the insurance business, you have to run like life insurance illustrations. And so learning the illustration software can be quite cumbersome. It changes a lot from time to time. And so I found agents emailing me and saying, hey, Joe, I've got a client, they need X number of X dollars in life insurance. Can you run an illustration for me? Or can we meet and you show me how to do an illustration? So you show them once, and then 2 weeks later you need to run another illustration. So then the business now, again, depends on me. So instead I would just film like one of them's 3 hours long of how to run every scenario possible in an insurance scenario, a life insurance scenario. Another example is like our contact management system. A lot of business people, owners have a CRM solution. Got tired of teaching people how to do it, And so basically what I did, going back to the kind of the Brian Tracy every 30-minute, activity, was really just looked at the activities that again I could delegate to somebody else, or and you can immediately pick this out, things that continually come up from different people. So different agents would ask me the same kind of questions, and it was very simple to say, well, I've already answered this once before. Someone's going to ask it again. More people want to know it, but they just haven't asked. Let me do a video, put it on our server, document it on our back-end website so they can get to it, send the email out to all of them. Now it's there.
Wow. So I think I get what you're saying is, instead of trying to figure out upfront which ones are the tasks that you need to systemize, and get the videos of how to do it, you just, when you get a request, you look at it, what is the tendency of this request being asked over and over again, right? So if you realize that that's something that they're going to ask you over and over again, is at that point you say, you know what, I'm just going to take my time, be exhaustive with this very demonstration of how to get this task done, but guess what? I'm also going to record everything, be it the audio, the video, whatever that I need to record, so that anybody else who's going to have the same question is now going to be, given this information that you've already created.
Absolutely.
And the other question I have now is, that works also when it's tasks that seem to not change frequently, right? What are those ones that change on a regular basis? How do you handle that?
Ones that change on a regular basis, or ones that are repetitive?
No, what I mean is, they're repetitive, but there's certain things that maybe they might have to be updates in how you do them. So maybe today is you have a set of outline steps of how you execute on this task, but maybe something changed in the process. So how do you handle that?
So with the video, how do I handle it?
Yeah, I mean, because you are taking the time to create an outline, and maybe maybe it's a software, for instance, now, and the same steps you follow to do a certain process with software is now changed because there's been an update, and so it might be a software, it might be a non-software related activity, but I'm trying to get to the point of when something changes or breaks from the system you've created, how do you handle that?
Typically, I'll just refilm the video. I mean, typically, you make an outline, you do the video. I don't try to be perfect in the video. I be myself. If I stumble a little bit, hey, look at the popularity of YouTube, right? None of them are perfect, but sometimes I'll refilm them. But sometimes I'll go into Camtasia and just cut out the part that's old and just refilm the part that's new, reproduce it, upload it to the server. So once the basic outline's done, most softwares. It's like if you look at Microsoft Word 03 versus 2010, for the most part, the basic stuff's the same, right? Some of the small stuff changed. I typically will just update the video or do a new one. It's not too difficult.
Definitely. And this whole thing we're doing is based on the fact that we're realizing that most entrepreneurs, in the sense of, in your case, real estate, being a real estate professional, but other entrepreneurs as well, we all going to have a set of activities that we going to have to keep on doing over and over again. And that's the basis for what we're talking about, is that there is going to be this recurring set of activities that you have to do for your business. And based on that, that's how we're creating the system. So I'm thinking now, let's dive into how, you have taken this concept and worked specifically with the agents in your business. 'Cause I'm sure maybe real estate agents or real estate investors or whoever listen to this interview, will want to learn how you do yours.
How I do which part?
No, I mean, I'm trying to dive into your business now,
Okay.
different parts of your business, your real estate business that you're willing to talk about on this show,
Sure.
and figure out how you systemize and outsource different parts, and we just go from there.
So here's a good example. A lot of this is a good example for like real estate brokers or anybody who is in a business where they need to hire more salespeople, if you will. So in real estate, the only way really to hire people is you spend a lot of money and do mailings, right, to get new realtors or old realtors to call you, or you make outbound calls, cold calls, if you will, to a list of agents you can buy, right? So in Florida, there's over 50,000, and so I bought the list, and I've got all their cell phone numbers. And if you're calling to do recruiting calls, it's not against the do not call list, only for sales calls, right?
Yeah.
So we have an auto dialer system. It's called Vici Dial. It's an open source auto dialer software. And this was actually my first dive into virtual assistants. And so we had outsourced it over to India, and we had a team of 3 or 4 virtual assistants making these outbound recruiting calls for us. And they had a basic script they went by. We let them go off script, and they would make these calls. And I found at first, once I found out the cost and how inexpensive, right, $250, $350 an hour, I could get somebody to do these things for, I said, well, this is great. I'm just going to make the call, talk to people, book the appointment, and just get people showing up at my door. And the people show up at the door, I'm going to recruit them. This is wonderful. Well, I quickly realized the cultural difference between other countries and America, especially when it comes to recruiting. And so what I eventually found out is that if they could just warm up the prospects, call somebody, take it from cold to being, yeah, they're interested, they want to talk to you. So now instead of me making cold calls, I've found myself spending time calling back people the same day. Sometimes we did live transfers, who wanted to talk to me, who were already warmed up. So I had somebody who, say it took them 2 hours to get somebody on the phone, it cost me $6, which I could deduct, right? No payroll tax because it's paying through PayPal. Yeah. So now for $6, here I had a warm lead who wanted to talk to me. And so I think for recruiting, it's that was really the start of it.
Definitely. I like what you said, because you realized that there was a cultural difference in how people communicate, but you were able to find that middle point where they can do the work up to, and then you can take it from there and then, basically overcome that cultural issue that you were having. And just so that we can give some more meat to that, what was that bridge that you created in that very process? What were they not doing correctly when they were handling the entire script itself? That's what I'm trying to get at.
So how do we basically train them to utilize the script and monitor it and these kind of things?
No, because I assume that when you hired them initially, you gave them the entire script and the entire process of how to even maybe convert them or whatever.
Right.
But now you're saying that you stopped at a certain point and you take it over when they now become warm leads. So I'm trying to figure out where is that step? Where are you breaking off that?
So the idea was, and of course every entrepreneur's idea is, if I could just, especially say in real estate broker, if I can get people in front of me, that's the name of the game. Without actually talking to them on the phone first, I'll just, get them when they come in and deal with them then. So that was kind of the dream of it all. And really where it started breaking apart was when I took the time our auto dialer has a way where you can listen into the conversation without anybody knowing you're listening in. And so when I started hearing that people were legitimately interested, but when we call them telecallers, when they would go to actually book the appointment, there would be major hesitation. I mean, major hesitation. People would really start nailing with questions. How long have you been in real estate for? I mean, come on. I mean, it's a different market over here. And so they were losing so many leads, and nothing I hate more than losing leads. And so I saw all these people who were legitimately interested. They couldn't get them in the door. They end up losing the conversation. And so really just a trial and error. And I finally said, well, you know what, if they're not able to book the appointment, at least let's have them do their live transfers when people are interested, which that got annoying real fast, having your phone getting blown up all the time with live transfers. And so I would just have them talk to the people. They would say, you're going to hear back from Joe Adkins. He's the broker. Now, when he calls you, here's the number he's calling you from. He's very busy. Make sure that you answer the phone and talk to him, because I'm going to tell him that you're interested. In the meantime, I'm going to send you an email with a 15-minute video overview of the company. I need you to watch that first before he calls you. He's going to call you tomorrow around 1, and they kind of set up a tentative phone time, and then email them and copy me on it, a video for them to watch. Then the virtual assistants, so callers, would put the lead into our contact management system on my day timer. So we automated that part of it, where I would just then look at my day timer and say, okay, I've got X number of people to call today.
Definitely. So I like that. So you found that point where it works and gives them the ability for them to even learn even as much as possible about you by sending them the video even before you call them. So when you're talking to them now, they no longer so to speak the cold lead. They actually at least have learned a little bit about you and be even a lot more receptive to whatever you have to do, and hence close the deal. In this case, trying to recruit agents. And I guess this is one of the activities that one would consider the income producing activities, because you need the agents, especially the good ones, to come in so that they can go out there and sell property. So it's kind of, in a sense, an income producing activity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things I want to do in this interview is really focus on if it's a situation with your business, income producing activities, and how you've systemized and made use of virtual assistants in those respects, so that people who are listening to this call, specifically real estate professionals, would take some of your ideas as well.
So one thing in real estate or any business is generating leads online, and so to do that, either you're very active in different blogs, whatever it is, how you're getting your business out there. In real estate, it has to do with advertising properties on, whether it's like Craigslist, eBay Classifieds, Trulia, Backpage, all these other websites out there. And the task of when you get a listing, to go through and put on all these websites, on Craigslist, run the ads every day so you're back on the top of Craigslist, set up the landing pages, run that whole system. When a lead comes in, email them the properties back. There's a lot that goes on there. And so back to the video. So I filmed a video of exactly how I do these things, and then the virtual assistants then can duplicate it. There is issues with having other countries post things on Craigslist in cities in the States. I mean, there's a lot of you got to do IP address circulation, you know what I mean. There's things to get around with proxy servers and different things. It's still difficult, but there are ways to get around it, and you just have to test it over time, because these websites are always changing the protocol. But so systematizing those things, where I think most people in business find themselves waking up and doing a lot of the administrative stuff. And it's tough to grow their business when they're a one-man operation. They find themselves doing all the, again, administration. In real estate, they're posting ads. They're taking, calls from realtors on showing instructions. We don't take calls on showing instructions. We have an automated system handle all that for us. So every little piece of business that can take up our time, that I think I can pay somebody $3.50 an hour to do, I'm going to find a way to do it as soon as possible. You know what I mean? And really, it's I'm sure you're familiar with Tim Ferriss, his book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
That's kind of like the Bible for anybody who got into outsourcing. That's how I got started.
That's how I got started as well. And I started off doing a lot of, again, like I said, for telecallers, but made a lot of great relationships with PhD level web developers who you're hiring for, pennies compared to American developers. You know what I mean?
Definitely, I definitely understand what you mean. And so I'm sure, one of the things we always learn from on this show is that, we always try and talk about the good side of the entire process, but also the difficulties, because I think there are things to be learned from the difficulty. So through the process, what did you find was challenging to you in terms of outsourcing and making use of virtual assistants in your real estate business?
Two things. One was, at first, I did not use videos to train them. I used email and tried to do it on Skype. And so and that's one. The second problem is I tried to get the cheapest virtual assistant, not necessarily the best. So those are two killer mistakes. So let's start with the one on the video. So what I would start with doing was just typing up very descriptive in an email exactly how I wanted a certain task to be done. I have virtual assistants who go in and pull the foreclosure records for several counties every single day, put in a list, go through certain filters. There's this whole process that we have a mailing process that we mail things out to foreclosures. And the problem with that is without them visually seeing it, there's things they screw up. So doing the video and have them watch the video was key, because what I found is that a lot of virtual assistant companies, I'd always be dealing with, I talk to them typically on Gtalk, and so I'd be chatting with them on instant message. I'd be chatting with the same screen name, but behind the scenes, it's different version, it's different people, right? There's big turnover, and I just didn't realize it until, you know, one day the job's being done perfect, and then the next day it's totally different. Well, it's obviously not the same person, and so the video made it so if the virtual assistant company got rid of somebody, when they brought in a new person, they don't need to tell me about it. Just have that new person watch the video and get it done right. And so that was key. The second thing on the money issue was I would go on Elance or Rent a Coder or you know, all these other outsourcing websites, and I would categorize it and search for the least expensive virtual assistant with the lowest rating. So I felt I could try getting good with them, and I had some I was even paying $1.75 an hour, $2 an hour, which is great. But the skill level was much lower, and they had to constantly repeat themselves. And so what I found is any company that I could go with that had an owner, a manager, and then the virtual assistant, I just dealt with the manager. If I had issues, I went to the owner. But the three levels, owner, manager, employee, I'm willing to pay $3.50 an hour to get a manager to make sure the job gets done every day and gets done on time. And I don't like dealing with one-man shows, right?
That sounds like music to my ears, because that's kind of how we operate. But, you know, I'm curious because there's different sides to this very story now. From your own experience, it was better for you, from what you're saying, to go with companies, you know, that had that hierarchy in their business, where there are different people that you can go to, as opposed to going to that one-man show where maybe they're the most cheapest option on Odesk or Elance, whatever. Right. Why is that though? I'm just curious.
Well, when you go to the one-man operation, I got tired of him just disappearing. You know, that's really what it came down to. And my wife would get pissed, and she'd say, "Joe, I mean, you've been using this one person all the time. Now they're gone." And now all of a sudden we had like a 1 or 2 week lag in our system. So when that system fell apart, now the task that they were doing, guess who ended up doing it? Either me or my wife, my mother, or a secretary. And they have other stuff to do. And so it's worth it to spend an extra, you know, $20 a week to know that I'm working with a company who's got 10 or 15 assistants. There's a manager in charge. I don't really want to. At first, I wanted to deal with the virtual assistants themselves, so I can make sure that things were being done right.
Yeah.
But with the video, it solves all that. I could care less who I'm dealing with, right? I do the video, they watch it, and they do it. They don't need to ask me any questions. In fact, if they email me questions, I'm not a jerk about it, but I'm like, you know, just. It's answered in the video. Just please watch the video. I break it down into chapters, right? So they can jump ahead. And it's really came down to a matter of the lag time. I hate having a system in place that's working well, that's generating customers, generating leads, and when that system breaks, so does the pipeline dries out.
And the good thing about having this, taking the time to really have a system in terms of how you do it with a video that's well outlined, is that it's going to always be kind of like a ever-growing system, because as things change with one specific process, I'm sure that the VA who's doing the task is going to bring that to your knowledge and say, hey, you know, this is how we do it based on your instruction, but something has changed. And then you're now going to go back in the system and create that addition to the video. Voila, you have a new updated system. And
absolutely. That's exactly what happens. Hey, the website I'm pulling data from now looks like this. They'll zip me over a screenshot. I'll say, oh my God, the whole thing's changed. I'll redo a 10-minute video, whatever, 20-minute video, upload to server, zip it off to them, say, follow this system now. So, yeah, you're right. I don't need to go on and check those things. They'll let me know.
And the thing, too, is I like how you started, you know, saying that, you know, you really took the time to analyze how much work you're doing in a day, and also you're backing that with how much you want to make. So you now know, you know, what your hourly value is. And then you're now also applying that, now that you know the hourly value of what your an hour is worth to you, you now know how much you can really afford to hire the best kind of services out there. You know, so in your case, you didn't want to go to get the one-man shop who might disappear any minute, but you wanted to have a real team available to work for you, but you're basing that on how much your hour is worth. So either way, it's going to be less than what your hour is worth, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, when you look at Fortune 500 companies, which you go back, there's a great book by Michael Friedman called "The World Is Flat." I think Friedman, "The World Is Flat."
I love it.
Phenomenal book. And, when you go back to like 2001, 2002, outsourcing was for the wealthy. I mean, it was for big companies. Only that it wasn't available to people like you and me. And so with technology, it changed all those things, and it changed the price of things. And, when you look at, what was I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Your question you just mentioned?
No, I was trying to say, because you made your decision not just on the fact that you wanted a team of people that there's a hierarchy, but you base it on the fact that each hour is worth this amount to you in a day, and now you are able to afford the best service you can, but still affordable, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. So what I was saying with the Fortune 500 companies is, do you think they're going to deal with a one-man operation? No, there's no way they're going to. They need to make sure someone's in place to make sure that those tasks get done. And so, in any kind of service-oriented business, you got to have the best, and it's worth paying a little bit more, I feel, to have the best. And so, although it was tough at first, it's so worth it, because when you look at, okay, if you want to hire a really good secretary, executive assistant, you're going to spend $15, $16 an hour or so with payroll tax and everything. Yeah. And to think that, okay, instead of spending $3, I can spend $3.50 and get an equivalent type of individual who can do the same kind of work. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, I mean, I told you, I try and leave that argument for politics and politicians. But I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, the more you can keep on your books, the more you can keep on your bank account, well, that's you.
The more money I keep in circulation.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I've really enjoyed this interview. And the thing is, having you come from a perspective of real estate, really, gets to give a whole different insight as to how, outsourcing and making this virtual assistant work in different industries. And I'm curious too, how do you make use of, virtual assistants when it comes to now? Is it possible for you to use them on the selling part of your business? Because we talked about how you use them on creating the leads of, what's it called, real estate agents who are interested in joining your team. I'm now also curious as to, in regards to offloading some of these properties, how do you work around that?
I mean, obviously they can't show properties. I mean, but there's systems we have. If if a lead comes in that's generated from ads that are posted or whatever, typically there's enough information where it's either going to weed people out who aren't interested. But when we get the lead, for example, another system we'll do is, before any of our agents, myself, the agents I'm close to, go out there and show property, we're going to have the buyers drive by 4 or 5 properties and narrow it down to maybe 1 or 2. As far as, I mean, you can have a virtual assistant coordinate the transaction as far as setting up inspections and these kind of things, but I think it's tough to, your clients don't want to talk to India. I mean, especially a real estate deal. You know what I mean? There's certain things, they're like, hey, look.
That's the whole thing of not outsourcing the relationship part of it, right?
Right.
That's what you're saying.
I want to build a relationship, because if I'm selling them real estate and they got a 401k, I want to manage that, I need to get to know the person. If I have somebody in India is the only person dealing with them, I want to make sure that the little stuff, the stuff I don't want to do, is out of my hair. But talking with people and dealing with people, those are the things I like to do. And as a salesperson, like yourself, myself, anybody else who's in a service industry, that's what it's about. I want to spend my time in front of prospects, not in front of a computer doing administrative stuff. I want to be on the phone with prospects, not working on a website or working on pulling data. I want to be able to offshoot that. And I think for a lot of small businesses right now in the recession that we're in, most people are saying, I want to grow, I need an assistant, I don't really want to spend $8 to $10 an hour, because what if I get them in, I got to fire them in a month. Well, virtual assistants, right? If you can't use them a month or 2 later, you can just get rid of them, right?
Definitely, so. I understand that, yeah. And I really like this interview, and one of the things I always want to end the interviews on a high note, and in the sense that if there is any real estate professional who's listening to this interview and is, still trying to dabble and figure out, okay, yes, there's a recession, this, foreclosures and all those things, happening. So real estate is really kind of having a, tough time right now. So if anything, anybody in the real estate industry needs to figure out how to increase their output but reduce their cost as well. So entering this outsourcing thing is a good bet for them. So, but I want to leave something with that, a word or two with that real estate professional who is thinking of moving in your direction. What will you tell them to encourage them to do maybe what you have done?
In order to, how to encourage them to take the step to outsourcing?
Yeah.
Well, I think just think of the first thing I would do is I do the time versus activity exercise. So every 30, and it's tough to do because it is a real pain to do, but set an alarm on your phone every 30 minutes for 5 business days, maybe 10, the longer the better. Every 30 minutes, look back at the last 30 minutes and actually write down in detail, type it up in Excel, exactly what you've done. And then after 10 days, you go through it and you highlight all the things that you could pay. Let's just say you had a secretary sitting in your office that you could pay them to do, and just highlight them. Okay, and then at the end of this exercise, you'll say, my God, I've highlighted 80% of the pages. Well, at that point, the next thought is, well, geez, I can't afford $400 a week to get a full-time assistant, but maybe I can afford, $120 a week, or maybe only need someone 10 or 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And you can go to India or any Pakistan, any country, and outsource these things and get them done. And then really you need to, I feel anyways, that in order to do it effectively, the Camtasia video capture software is almost necessary if you don't want to pull your hair out retraining and retraining people. If you just want to video something, get it done once, get it to the assistant, make it happen. But when you look at the cost, I mean, it's almost tough not to. I mean, you really can't afford not to outsource. Once you do the time versus activity exercise, you'll look at it and you'll say, there's no way I'm going to make $300,000 a year when I'm spending all day doing $8 an hour activities, or $3 an hour in this case, or $4 an hour.
And that calculation of how much each of your hour is worth is really based on how many hours in that week you really want to work. So if you want to work only to do the 4-hour work week, it means that each hour is going to be $1,000 if you're trying to earn $300,000. But if you want to be conservative and work like everybody else, maybe 40 hours a week, whatever, now the amounts per hour drops down, but it's not even more realistic and the same,
unless someone's dream is to make $20,000 a year, you're talking $10 an hour. I think most people's dreams are bigger than that. You better start outsourcing.
Wow, and I think this is it's time to end the interview, but this is a question that I have personally is, we're talking about how you can systemize by making use of videos, but someone who maybe is in the field that they feel like they might not be able to make use of videos because maybe they don't have work that they do on on computers. What is the workaround? If you have any ideas to that, that would be nice to know. I just
think a detailed Word document, very detailed Word document. I mean that's how I started doing it. I think that would be the best way. I can't think of an industry that you couldn't videotape it. Forget screen capture, a regular video camera, and just video. When we were teaching the telecallers, we needed them to learn the annotations of certain words that they would use on the phone, and we used a voice recorder, and we voice recorded our words, and we re-emphasized things and pointed it out, and then we emailed them the audio file and said, listen to this for a couple hours, we'll pay you, listen to it, learn the script, learn our words, mimic our accent so you're good at it, and we got on the phone and listened to it, and then we put them on the phone. So I think if you really think about it, there's ways to, whether it's going to be using a video camera, screen capture, Word document, there's ways to systematize. I'm a huge fan of Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth.
Wow, you're saying all the books that, man, you see the smile on my face, that's the E-Myth, right? Go ahead.
It's a great book. So if somebody would read E-Myth, you can't have a successful small business without having very detailed systems in place. And if somebody hasn't read E-Myth, 4-hour work week, the power of focus. Any of these kind of books that talk about systems and how to do it. You're gonna be a one-man operation for a very long time if you're not documenting systems and then finding a way to get those systems in someone else's hands so they can do the stuff for you.
Definitely. Well, how can my viewers get a hold of you if they want to contact you? Because I'm sure they're probably going to have questions.
They may have questions. Yeah, they can email me. It's Joe Adkins, Joead as in David, Kins, at FAImail.com. F as in Frank, A as in Apple, FAImail.com. That is how they can get me.
Thank you very much, Joe. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. It's been one of the best smiles on my face all through, and I really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime you want me to be on, I'm here.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good, man. Good. Very good. Yeah.
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really want to know what exactly you think. If I suck and if I'm not doing a good job, I want to know, because by your input and your comments, your suggestions, your feedback, that's how I'm going to improve on the entire package of what I'm sharing with you. I really want to improve so that you know that your time is well spent when you watch my videos. And if I do good on, interviews, and if you like certain things I do, please let me know so I can even improve upon that as well. And I want to thank you really, because your time is well spent, and I mean, your time is important to me, and I want to make sure that I continuously put this information in front of you. So I want you to join my community, and in order to do that, you need to click on the link that says get the free ebook, enter in your name and email, and you will receive as a gift from me my free ebook titled The Entrepreneur's Guide to Running a Business in the Cloud. The reason I do that is because I want to share with you that information. You can check it out and make use of it in your business. In the same vein, I will be sending you email updates every time I have new blog posts, as well as if I have new stuff that is not even on the blog, I want to share with you. That way we can stay in contact. One more thing. Before you go, I want to also let you know that if you are really serious about finding, hiring, training, and even working with virtual assistant, if right now you want to get that started, why don't you sign up for my free webinar where I share everything about the entire process? And you can get to do that by clicking on the link on the very top of my blog where it says sign up for the free webinar. Again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you next time.